Welcome to Heal Body, Mind and Spirit. My name is Dermot Farrell, and today we're going to talk about the importance of having a vision. Now, this is the first video in a 3-video series, which is all based on success and how to become successful. And the first part is really about having a vision and, doing what it takes to achieve something in life, because most people are not doing what it takes to achieve something in life. The subsequent 2 videos will talk more about clarifying this so that you don't just turn into a monster, that you actually become a successful person in the truest sense of the word. In other words, someone who can make good money, but also can contribute to society and be a happy, integrated person. So that's the idea of the series. 3 videos on the first part on the importance of vision. The second part, the importance of character development in balancing yourself as a human being. And the third part is on ethics, basically, being an ethical person. Okay, so we're talking about success in a balanced way. So in this video, we're just going to talk about the importance of having a vision and how a vision can help you. So, what's this thing of having a vision? People have a lot of funny ideas about having a vision. We have, of course, saints have visions of, the Holy Mother, various saints and gods and stuff. We've got mad people have visions, of course. We also have vision as in daydreaming. But the vision that I'm talking about is the vision whereby you can envision something in your life. Look for and achieve something in your life. That's the envisioning process. Okay? So I wrote an article, there's a link to the article here, on my blog, The Importance of Having a Vision. I'm just going to quote from it a little bit here. The importance of having a vision. A vision is a series of concepts which, when weaved together, they become a holistic, integrated set of values and aspirations which lead us on to new heights in our lives. So we're not talking about an imaginary vision. We're talking about being able to see something, see some success. Basically, if you can't see it, you can't believe it. And if you can't believe it, it can't be done. As Einstein says, you cannot solve a problem in the same state of consciousness which created it. You have to aspire to something better. You have to see the solution first. So let's give an example of how we go about envisioning. Okay, let's give it the example of, say, a doctor who spends 20 years in clinical practice. Every day they have people who are sick, people are dying, and over a period of time they get little inspirations now and again, little thoughts, little reflections on their experiences pop in now and again. And if they've been observant of them, over a period of time they will become philosophical reflections on life. That's if they remain in a disordered state. But if they manage to make order out of all the data that they've taken, they can actually not just have a bunch of interesting reflections, they can actually develop concepts about life and concepts about being a doctor and concepts about medicine. And over a period of time, this will actually give them a vision of how they think medicine should be or could be. And this is how innovation takes place. So the vision and process isn't just about, I want to be, say, a millionaire. It's about working towards something and integrating your experiences. Let's say you want to become a very successful businessman, for example, and you start in business. You've ups and downs and things go this way and that way. But over a period of years, you gain insights. And over a period of time, those insights start giving you a change in your world perspective. Your world viewpoint changes. You get a deeper and wider viewpoint and a more specialized viewpoint. A viewpoint, your mindset changes. Okay? Like one of the biggest examples I can give of this is the employee-employer dynamic. A lot of people are addicted to being employees. They love the security of a solid paycheck. But when you go out on your own and you try and do your own business, usually you get a lot of flack from family members saying, I wouldn't work unless I got so much per hour. The reality of being in business is you don't get anything per hour. It's you put in and you hope something comes out. And the better you get at it, the more comes back out. So that's an example of going from employee to an employer mindset. That holds a lot of people back because they're not willing to take the chance of maybe not making money. And they're willing to accept a very small wage per month rather than the risk of maybe having no wage for months, a very small wage for a few years, and then the final success of having maybe much better income over the long term. So this is a case of going from an employee to an employer mentality. It's a big shift in consciousness. By the same token, let's say you want to become a millionaire. You have some vague ideas first. You have what you think is a vision, which is you like one of those lottery ads where you have you sitting there beside a pool and you're driving a big car. And of course, as time goes by, you realize that it's not going to be given to you on a plate. And you start realizing the logistics of becoming that successful person. For example, if you want to become a successful person in internet marketing, you're going to have to get thousands and thousands of hits, to get hundreds and hundreds of people to see your page, to get a handful of people to buy your product. You need a lot of exposure. If you are, say, want to climb up the corporate ladder and become a big cheese, well, you're going to be fighting it out with hundreds of other executives for a handful of senior positions. And it'll become pretty obvious pretty soon that you have to raise your game. You can't just have a dream that I will start. And this is a mistake a lot of people make in the corporate sector, because if you go to any corporate job on the first day of the job, they give you this orientation programming. Part of it is to get you to lift up a box, so that you don't, if you pick up some photocopy paper for the photocopy machine, that if you pull your back, you don't see the company. So they do all this sort of nonsense and welcome to the company. But they also sell what I would like to call the myth or the dream of the company. Companies attract employees by baiting them, by using techniques to make it sound exciting, by using a package. Okay? They don't like talking about salaries anymore because people very quickly get tired of money, and even extra money doesn't motivate them. But people like a package, like, you know, certain amount of time off, certain amount of medical benefits, etc., etc., etc. Maybe stock options, etc. So they tell you on the first day in your new corporate job how great it is and how great you are, and you're like the chosen people, etc. But what they don't tell you is that you are one among thousands of people in that company, and you ain't such a big cheese as you might think. You're there to perform a role, and while if you behave yourself, you might well, you know, get a, you know, increase in pay every year. After a few years, you might be promoted. After another few years, promoted again. But pretty much you won't go to the heights just by being a good guy who turns up on time and does what's expected. If you just be a good guy or good girl and do what's expected and turn up on time, you know, 20 years later, you'll be in a supervisory position or a mid-level management position. You'll never be in that senior position. To get to that senior position, you have to raise your game. So that's another example. You go to the corporate life, you think that 20 years from now you're going to be some vice president. After a few years, you realize it's not happening. And then you start thinking, well, what do I have to do to make it happen? And then you think about it, and then you squeeze those experiences, and then you start having a vision. So when I'm talking about vision, I'm talking about a strategy, a plan, a template that's going to bring you forward. You're going to adjust it, you're going to change it probably on a yearly basis, but it's going to bring you in the right direction. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about something based upon aspiration, upon imagination, and also upon experience and making the most out of those experiences. Because a vision has to be an actual pathway. If you wanted to climb the, say you wanted to climb the Himalayas tomorrow, Mount Everest, say, you'd have to have a plan. You can't just say, I'm going to get to the top. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, the visioning process. Also, vision processes can be different from different people. For example, I'm sure Bill Gates had a vision when he wanted to set up Microsoft. I'm sure Mother Teresa had a vision. But her vision was about helping people. His vision was making money. So there's an example of how the vision could be material, the vision could be immaterial. Your vision might be to make a lot of money. Your vision might be to be a great artist. Your vision might be to help your NGO or whatever organization or charity you're involved in to make a difference in somebody's life. That can also be a vision. So don't get hung up and think it's all about money making. We're talking about you have a goal, you have an ideal, and what you do to get to that ideal. So things which will help you on the way are things like self-help books to gain awareness. I did another video on journaling. Keeping a journal is a great way to get insight, because you need an insight, you need insights, because you have to change your worldview and start. If you want to become a millionaire, you have to start thinking like a millionaire. If you want to become the next Mother Teresa, you have to start thinking like Mother Teresa. Okay? You want to become a politician, you have to start thinking like a politician. You want to become an astronaut, you have to start thinking like an astronaut. So you have to have an aspiration and use your imagination, but you also have to read and think and then try and have experiences and try and learn from those experiences, you know, in order to get to that level of thinking. It's a different level of thinking, all right? So, like I said there, self-help books are good, but probably the most important thing is soul searching. You need to be able to look inside yourself, and you need to find out what you really want. Another thing is to be flexible and willing to change, because I might have a vision today. Say I want to become, say for example, I want to become a wealthy business person. I might have a vision of that wealth. And people tend to buy into this because it's advertised in a lot of advertisements, you know, sitting by the pool, flash cars, flash lifestyle. But then when you start getting that wealth, you might like it. This happens to a lot of people. They start getting wealthy, but they don't seem to be happy, because they never actually stop to think about, is this really what I like? Now, obviously, everybody wants a comfortable life. Everybody wants money in the bank and to be able to go on holidays when you want to go on holidays, etc. But you might want a Ferrari. You might want a swimming pool. You might want big parties. Okay, you might want a much quieter lifestyle. So, you know, be willing to be flexible and learn what is your vision, because your vision today could be different to vision tomorrow. And one thing I've learned myself from journaling is that my basic vision that I still have, I had 20 years ago, I still have today. But there's many aspects of that vision which are a little bit different. It's an evolutionary process. So don't limit yourself to staying at that level. So be flexible, and like I said, aspire. Another thing which is very important is a will of iron. Okay, so let's say you've done a lot of soul searching, you have a good idea what you want to achieve, and you start working on that envisioning process. Okay, you've got a good idea, and the good thing to do is get your journal out and jot some ideas down and throw some ideas, and you can do a mission statement and all this sort of stuff to try and get a feel for what you want and where you want to go, and read relevant literature, and then start exploring that direction and start working in that direction. And you know, as you go, you know, it's like your vision is obviously going to be something that's 5 years or 10 years or 15 years in the future. I mean, if you want to be, say, an Olympic swimmer, and you start having a vision of that 15, you know that you're probably going to hit that vision in your maybe 20s, maybe 5, 10 years later. If your vision is to be a successful businessman, you're talking probably at least a couple of years to make some money and become the big man that you want to be, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. If you want to become an astronaut, for example, again, it's going to take time, or a doctor. So pretty much a vision is always going to be something that's going to take time, and you work towards that over time. But the deliverance of that requires a will of iron. I'm going to quote a little quote out of my blog article again. The will of iron requires only one thing, and that is to make it a reality, is the belief that there are no other options. And this is where people fall down. People think, I want something, I'm going to get it. And then they start questioning and doubting. If you really want something, you need to be so zoned in that you feel there is no other options. If you feel there is no other options, you can achieve true greatness, because there is no thinking I have a... When you think you have a get out of jail card, when you think you have another option, you tend to use it. When you think there is no options, I have to make this work somehow, miracles tend to happen. Now, of course, for this to work effectively, you have to make sure that the vision is right. So my suggestion is you start the visioning process. You start getting some idea of what you want to achieve. You start progressing towards it. You keep learning from your experiences as you're going through it and refining it. And over a period of months and years, that envisioning process is a dynamic, active process. You begin making shape of what it is you want to achieve and making changes accordingly, evolving the idea. And you know, start realizing there's certain things you have to do. And then you start realizing that this is what I have to do. There is no choice. I have to do this. This is what has to be done. Where people fall down is they want success, but they don't want to take the bold decisions. They don't want to leave their job. They don't want to invest their money. They don't want to invest their time. They don't want to stand up on YouTube, perhaps make a fool of themselves. These are things you have to be willing to do to get where you want to go. Make sure you're is far enough along the envisioning process that you have a good idea that this is what you want to do before you leave your job or change city or change career or whatever. But ultimately, when you've decided that this is what I want to do, you have to act on it as if this is the only option. If you look at wartime heroes, we're always very impressed with what these guys do. Ultimately, they felt that was the only option. So when a guy runs into a burning building and saves a bunch of people, if you ask him, he'll tell you, well, that's what I felt I had to do. What other option? I can't leave people to burn. That's the option I had to make. So that's the kind of thinking, and this is where people fall down, because in the world that we're living in, we're sold this ridiculous idea that everything is easy. And personally, I think the reason why this picture of society as everything being easy is sold to us is because most people don't want to put the work in. Most people don't want to make a sacrifice. Most people don't want to make the difficult decisions. Okay? I mean, say you're the president or prime minister of a country, you might have to make a decision to send men in to a war zone, they're going to die. You have to do it. If you're in business, you might have to make a decision to fire some people. You have to be tough enough to do that. Or you might be, willing to invest money or lose money or whatever it takes. So this is, in society we're painted a picture of you can have anything you want, okay? There's an ad, for example, I live in India, there's an ad that comes on the TV, which is drink this herbal tea, and then you'll lose like 30 kilos, like 60, 70 pounds of body fat in a month. And it's just a joke, and you have Photoshop pictures of young people with Photoshop fat bodies, and suddenly, like that, they have a skinny body. This is marketing. Most of what you're seeing in life is marketing. You want to go to college, they give you all this blurb about how their alumni are so well connected, and it's this, it's that, and the other. Ultimately, they want your money, they want you to join the course. You join a corporate body, entity, give you all this bull about you're going to be the next leader of the country or whatever the hell it is, or leader in that business. And lo and behold, 10 years later, you're a low-level operative in that organization. So don't be sad because your college lied to you, or your company lied to you, or the guy in the fat loss ad lied to you. These guys want your money. I'm just telling you like it is. If you want success, you have to be willing to make the difficult decisions. It isn't easy being successful. You have to be more competitive than the next guy or girl. You have to provide more value than the next person. You have to compete, say in a corporate body with other executives, you have to compete with them. You have to be better than them. And you have to be willing to take chances, and sometimes things will blow up in your face. Okay? We've got a famous example of Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of the UK in the 1940s, and who pretty much single-handedly fought and to a great degree beat Hitler in the first part of World War II. With very little resources, he was able to withstand and fight the Germans for a few years, and probably World War II wouldn't have been won without Winston Churchill. But what a lot of people don't know is in World War I, Winston Churchill was the head of the Admiralty, and he made a brave decision to send some men in, and the whole thing was a disaster, and he had to leave that job. He was kicked out of being the head of the Admiralty. Now, what most men would have done in his position is retire back to country home, because he's a very wealthy guy. But he didn't. He enlisted as an officer in the army and went and fought on the front lines, which is a brave thing to do. As a young guy, mud in his face, he did something, didn't work, had to resign, but instead of going back to country manor, he joined the army and he fought on the front lines. And slowly but surely he gained favour, and then he became Prime Minister of World War II. And his gutsy approach, which is not appropriate all the time, but his gutsy approach was ideal for dealing with a narcissist like Adolf Hitler. So that's, the willingness to put yourself out there. So in summary, successful people never give up. That's number one. Successfully, they never give up. Number two is you need a tangible goal. And I call it the envisioning process. It's not something that's immediate or automatic. It takes time and effort. You begin with an idea what you want, and then you start making steps towards it. And you keep refining it and refining over months and years, because if it's a goal worth pursuing, it's not going to be something you're going to achieve in 2 months. It's going to be something that's like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. We're talking about becoming a very competitive athlete, or becoming a top business person, or a top executive, or a fighter pilot, or a politician, or an astronaut or something. We're talking about, or running a very successful NGO perhaps, or being a fantastic family person perhaps. Maybe you've got very different ideas. Maybe you want to be a better humanitarian, whatever it is. You start with a basic vision and you work on refining, which is the envisioning process. You keep a journal, you keep thinking about things, you keep taking your experiences and refining, and those little failures and those little successes and squeezing them like an orange. We take a good quality orange juice, for example. You'll usually see on the side of those very tasty orange juice containers made with 50 oranges. It's amazing. It's 1 liter, pint and a half, whatever the hell it is, and the thing is made from 50 oranges. So it's taking your life experience and squeezing it and squeezing it, and you get the juice out, the essence, which can't be taught in a book, because we're talking about your truth, we're not talking about my truth. And my truth is different from yours, but both are valid. What you get from your experience, you begin with an idea, then you put yourself out there, and then you take the feedback process of the successes and failures, and you start squeezing your experiences, and then you start getting the insights, and then you start mastering whatever it is that you're trying to achieve by squeezing those experiences and gaining some kind of insights. And then you have a will of iron to act that out, and you're willing to take those chances, you're willing to push yourself that far. And like I said, most people in this world, they're just dreaming. That's been my experience over years. I've met a lot of fine people, I've heard a lot of fine speeches, but put your money where your mouth is. There's very few people who are willing to go and take those chances and to put themselves out there. Something I've done quite a bit in my life. I've put myself out there, and I failed a lot, to be honest with you. But I have put myself out there, and I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. Most people are not. So first of all, you have to be brave enough to take the first steps in that direction. Then you have to learn from it and grow and develop into it, and never give up once you find the thing you really want to do, and have the will and iron to keep at it until you do get that success, because the success never comes easily. Okay, some people make it look easy. You stick on a TV program, they're interviewing the latest new actor or actress, and they're actually 33, 34 years of age. They're already 20 years or 15 or 16 years acting. An up and coming business person, like 35 again. Very few people achieve success early in life. The odd person does, but most people don't. The people who do achieve success very early are either very, very lucky or extremely talented, but some people aren't. Okay? If you want to lead the life that you want to lead, if you want the success that you want, you can do it, but you got to have the guts to go on through it. Push yourself out there when everybody says no, you can't do it. Take risks and drop the silly employee mentality and take a more bold approach to life. And things can happen, miracles can happen, but you'll probably fall on your face sometimes too. So start moving in that direction, start learning from experience, squeeze your experiences like an orange, and master it over a period of months and years, and have that will of iron to action it through. And that's the sort of thing that can get you where you need to go, and also be flexible and willing to change the vision. You don't have to have the one vision for your entire life. Okay, there's plenty of people succeeded in one thing and then said, that's enough, I'm going to succeed in something else. And that's also fine. So forget the bullshit you're seeing on the TV, and your computer and your phone and all this stuff. Marketing people make everything look easy because they want your money. Okay, you can achieve, you can succeed, but you got to have a vision. And that vision has to be your vision created through your experience. So go out there and start today. Think about what you want to achieve. Start making the first bold steps. Keep a journal. Learn from experience. Squeeze those experiences and refine that envisioning process, and have the guts to go through what you have to go through, and never say die. Okay? That is the importance of having a vision. Everybody who's achieved anything worthwhile in this world has had a vision. That's the way it is. Okay, thanks for dropping by. Like and subscribe if you can, and have a great day.